Have you ever known what was true and then talked yourself out of it by lunchtime? That isn't intuition failing. That's your system getting loud. So before I explain anything, let's do one simple thing together. Inhale through the nose for 4, and then exhale for 8. Just once. Good. So now longer exhales send a signal to the nervous system that it's a little safer. Now notice what just happened. Nothing outside you changed, yet your state changed a little bit. The moment your state shifts, your clarity can come back. And that's why the title is You're Not Missing Your Soul, Your System is Noisy. See, the signal is always on. What changes is the receiver. When your nervous system is under load, it doesn't listen cleanly. And when it doesn't listen cleanly, it starts reaching for certainty instead of truth. And this is what I call Homo Spiritus, which is a soul fully present, moving through a human nervous system with a clean signal. And today, I'm going to share how to make this usable. We're going to do 3 things. We're going to catch the noise early, clear it fast, and then build enough capacity that your clarity doesn't disappear the moment life becomes intense. So let's start with where to find clues about any static within your system. This is the part that saves you time. Okay, let's think back over the last 24 hours. Did you interrupt more than usual? Your own thoughts or others? Did you rush a decision? Did you feel the need for certainty before you moved? Did you doom scroll or snack just to change your state? Did you feel off but you just can't name why? If even one of those showed up, that's not a character flaw, that's just your system bracing. And here's the rule, this is the part I often missed. When you catch bracing, don't keep pushing, don't keep deciding, don't keep trying to figure it out. Because whatever you decide while braced will be urgency pretending to be truth. So the protocol is really simple. Reset first, then decide. Let's look at it this way. You're about to send that message. You feel the urge to explain. You feel that tight pressure to lock it down and make it safe. Well, that's bracing. It feels like clarity, but it's actually control. It's the nervous system trying to reduce risk by managing perception. So bracing here means your system's just preparing for impact. Social impact, rejection, misunderstanding, conflict. And it's trying to prevent that impact by flooding the message with explanation. If you write while braced, you don't transmit truth, you transmit tension. So do the reset first, then decide. The reset doesn't change the truth of what you want to say. It changes the state you're saying it from. So the message is cleaner, shorter, and timed better. All right, here's another quick, simple example. You're in a conversation and you can feel it. Your chest is tightening. Your words speed up. You start interrupting and polishing every sentence as you say it. That's bracing. So first reset, then decide. And resetting can be as simple as one long exhale before you speak again. Now do the reset while you keep listening. Don't make it a ceremony. Just 2 breaths where the exhale is longer than the inhale. And there's no need to count. You just make it longer. Out, then in. Now, let's add a micro movement. Roll your shoulders back and down. Just let your chest open. Relax your jaw if it's tense. Unclench your hands. Let your body receive the room that you're in. And now to help make it stick, for the next hour, don't pour gasoline on it. Skip the outrage loop. Skip the doom scrolling. Skip the arguing content. If you want a clean signal, you need to stop feeding the static. That's clearing the receiver. So before I continue, I should define Homo Spiritus as a fully incarnated soul living through a biological system. Your body and the nervous system aren't scenery. They're the interface the soul uses to experience life. They're how life becomes real through time, sensation, choice, and consequence. So when I say fully incarnated, I mean the soul is already here. It's already the orienting intelligence of your life. The human system is what gives that intelligence traction. It's how you perceive, decide, connect, and actually live what's true instead of just thinking about it. So the question isn't, where is the soul? The soul is present. So the question is, how clearly can your human system host it? Because hosting isn't a concept, it's capacity. So spirit on its own, well, that's pure potential, intelligence, pattern, orientation. But it doesn't or can't feel. It can't feel the warmth of a mug in your hands. It doesn't taste bitterness or sweetness. It doesn't feel the ache in the chest when something ends. It doesn't feel that quiet relief when you finally tell the truth about something. On its own, the soul is energy. It needs an interface to experience sensations. And that's why you can know the truth and still feel disconnected from it. Knowing is the soul's clarity which the mind puts into words. And feeling requires a body. The experience needs sensation. It needs density. It needs time, friction, consequence. So what you are, whether you use this language or not, is a soul living through a human-shaped system. And once you let that become lived sense instead of a concept, things start to get simpler. Not because you learned new information, but because you stop mislabeling what was already happening. So here's a simple example. One of the morning routines I have with Jen is coffee. Every morning I get up, the first thing I do is I brew the coffee. And that's how my day begins. And if she's got a busy day ahead, I bring her the first cup. Now that's not because I have to, and it's not because I'm trying to earn brownie points. I do it because it brings me joy, and it brings Jen joy. That's not survival optimization, that's meaning. And meaning is one of the cleanest fingerprints of soul in a human life. Because when the system is embracing, you don't just chase comfort, you choose a relationship, you choose care, you choose what's important, what matters. That's Homo Spiritus, a soul fully present, expressed through a human system with enough safety to stay relational. Now here's where this becomes really practical. I can tell my signal is getting noisy by watching how reactive I am, in how my timing changes. If I interrupt more, I feel rushed, I over-explain, I second guess, or I get irritable, I start needing certainty. And the moment I notice that, I don't judge it. I don't make it a personality story, I just name it. I am bracing. So what makes the receiver noisy? Well, inputs. I found that what you eat matters. Sugar can push the system towards fight or flight without asking for your permission. Alcohol distorts perception. Some foods make the body feel unsafe before the mind catches up. And what I watch matters too. Threat-based media, outrage loops, constant negativity, all of that quietly locks the nervous system into survival. And I don't need to feel afraid to be living in fear. When my body's bracing against reality, even if it's subtle, perception begins to collapse. And I become less patient, less relational, less accurate. Yeah, I can still function, but I start reading life through tension. Not because the soul went anywhere, because the receiver is now out of tune. The nervous system isn't an obstacle to awakening. It's the translation layer. It determines how much intensity, truth, and presence can be held without distortion. When safety increases, perception starts to expand. And when I say safety, I'm talking about the vagus tone, the body's sense of, yeah, I can stay here. When the vagus tone is strong, the system can hold intensity without flipping into threat. That's the doorway into heart-led coherence. When survival dominates, perception starts to narrow and behaves a lot like tunnel vision. And I noticed it in the simplest way. So when the receiver is noisy, attention begins to climb into my head. Life becomes analysis. I start trying to solve my relationship, my timing, my choices, like it's a problem set that needs to be solved. I can still be smart up there, and I can still understand, but I lose the feel of what's real while it's happening. When the receiver clears, something shifts in a very specific direction. My awareness drops lower, it becomes less mental and more relational. I feel what's happening while it's happening. I can stay with the moment instead of racing ahead of it. I feel more in the now and more heart-based. And that's why I say the shortest and longest journey a human makes is really only about 15 inches, and it's from the mind to the heart. Because the heart is where true meaning actually registers. That's where relationship registers. And this is important. It shows up before you can even justify it. Now this brings us to the second half of the promise, which is capacity. Clearing noise gives you clarity now. Capacity is what makes it stay. When I say capacity, I don't mean in appearance or performance. So different bodies have different constraints. Coherence is alignment inside those constraints, not a performance outside of them. So capacity just means how much intensity your system can hold without flipping into threat or collapse. The intensity isn't just stress or chaos. Intensity can be presence, truth, love, depth, clarity. If your capacity is limited, the system reaches threat faster. It fatigues sooner. It narrows perception more quickly. So I used to wonder why I couldn't stay present for long, why insight exhausted me, why coherence came in flashes and I would look everywhere, beliefs, techniques, timelines, except for the obvious place. My system's current bandwidth just couldn't sustain that intensity yet. So for me, I notice this through channeling and creating spirit fractals. Yeah, for the most part, it's invisible work, but it has a load. 20 minutes of deep work can leave me physically wiped. Not emotionally, but physiologically. I'm not pretending certainty about the mechanism of it. I'm just observing the pattern. The system pays a cost. And once I saw that, movement stopped being about performance and it became about resilience. How quickly my nervous system recovered. How long I could stay open without starting to brace. How much charge can move through the body without crashing afterwards. Because a resilient system reads intensity as information. A stress system reads intensity as danger. Now, I want to be clear about one thing, because the soul is never reckless. It just isn't reckless. It doesn't force, it doesn't shove more through than the body can tolerate. It responds to capacity. So yes, as capacity increases, more can come through cleanly. And the objective is simple: expand the system's ability to stay open without collapsing. Now, I found the only reliable way to do this is by steady stewardship. So the body adapts to what you give it. If you give it stagnation, well, it narrows. If you give it movement, it adapts. If you give it load within tolerance, it starts to grow capacity. And capacity is what allows more life to move through without distortion. So here's the practical frame I actually use. When I want a clear receiver, I look at three things: the inputs, breath, and movement. By inputs, it's what I'm consuming: food, media, conversations. Breath, and that's giving the body a signal of safety. And then movement is just letting charge move so it doesn't jam the system. Now, underneath that is a deeper point. Experience requires participation. You don't get lucidity by accident. You don't get coherence through ideology. You have to clear the static. Not to earn the soul, not to access something new, but to experience what has always been here. See, presence helps, yeah, 100%. But presence is just the doorway. And coherence is when perception, choice, and action stop contradicting each other. When that happens, spirituality doesn't need performance. Life becomes the expression. Relationships, well, they simplify. Choices clean up. Energy starts to return. Not because you forced it, because distortion has lost its leverage. So living as Homo Spiritus isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It shows up as honesty in your body, as willingness to feel without dramatizing, as staying present without trying to control outcomes. It's not about becoming better, it's about becoming aligned. The soul doesn't need improvement. The human system needs calibration. And when that calibration happens, something unmistakable occurs. Life stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like participation. Not ease necessarily, but meaning. So here's the honest question underneath all of it. Why bother? Why do the work of clearing the receiver? Why build capacity, clean up inputs, regulate the nervous system, get coherent, when you can just keep running the status quo? Well, because the status quo has a cost. When the system's noisy, you spend your life second guessing. You burn energy on internal argument, you overreact, then regret it. You chase clarity in bursts, and then lose it again. Clearing noise doesn't make life easy. It makes life legible. It gives you the ability to read what's real while it's happening, not 2 weeks later when the consequences arrive. So cleaner choices, less self-betrayal. Relationships that stop being guesswork. The ability to feel truth without immediately defending against it. You don't become better. You become more accurate, more consistent, more you. That's the payoff. A life that isn't run by static. A life that's actually responding to what's true. And if you want one line to keep from this video, it's this: when you catch bracing, reset first, then decide. That's Homo Spiritus in practice. It's not the future of humanity. It's the original design remembered.